How do you feel about RFK Jr.? Because I know we got a chance to chat about this a little bit when you were in Massachusetts, but he's confusing to me. I think someone like him should be running outside of the
No doubt.
duopoly.
No doubt about it. It makes absolutely no sense that he's running inside the Democratic Party, because you and I know that they're not going to let him win. That's why they have super delegates. They don't have super delegates to make sure the will of the people is expressed. They have super delegates so they can control the establishment, and the billionaire class can control who the Democratic nominee is. And there you go. They never thought they would have to worry about that in the Republican Party, but then Trump came along and they can't control them. So I bet they wish they had super delegates in the Republican Party. So in lieu of having super delegates, they keep trying to throw him in jail. And so I really wish RFK Jr. would run, but it's too late. He's going to run as a Democrat. I think it's sweet. I think it's great that he's run. I mean, the fact that he's in the race, because he will put a big hurt on Joe Biden, and he'll expose him, and that'll make him more susceptible to Cornel West. If Joe Biden gets hurt bad enough, Cornel West could win this. And I think he can get hurt bad enough, because you see what's happening on Twitter now. I always told people that I was cautiously optimistic about Elon Musk buying Twitter. I know he's in bed with the military and the CIA and the defense industry and all that stuff, and that he's a billionaire, but all he had to do was this, what he's doing right now, exposing Peter Hotez and the COVID lies, and exposing that the establishment runs from honest debates, because we all know the truth doesn't mind being questioned. It's lies that doesn't like scrutiny. And so he's exposing that right now. And that is a huge, huge thing. If he does nothing else with Twitter, this is worth him buying it, because now people can expose the fraud that Fauci is, that Dr. Peter Hotez is, that Walensky is at the CDC, Collins is at the NIH, that the whole thing was, right? And that's why, remember, that's why Tucker Carlson got fired. He didn't get fired for lying, just like Julian Assange isn't in prison for lying. Edward Snowden isn't in Russia because he lied. They didn't torture Chelsea Manning because she lied. They did all that because those are the people telling the truth, right? And so when Tucker Carlson told the truth about Ukraine, and then he brought RFK Jr. on a show to tell the truth about how Big Pharma corrupts corporate news, they had to fire him the next day, as Roger Ailes said he would 10 years ago. He told RFK Jr. that 70% of his advertising on the news comes from Big Pharma, and he loved RFK Jr. They were personal friends. I don't know if you know that. RFK Jr. and Roger Ailes were personal friends because of a freak thing. They spent, I guess, 2 months in a tent somewhere together, and so they knew each other, and he would go meet with Roger Ailes about vaccines, and he was like, I agree with everything you're saying, but if I put you on the show, I'd have to fire you because Rupert Murdoch would call me 2 seconds later. And so that's exactly what happened. Tucker Carlson, they took away all his advertisers. He started telling the truth about the Ukraine war, and then he brought on RFK Jr. to tell how corporate news is corrupted by Big Pharma advertising, and he was gone. And so that, let's remember it. And that they're not angry at RFK Jr. for lying. They're angry because RFK Jr. is telling a lot of truths that they don't want to hear, and they can't rebut. If they could rebut him, believe me, they'd be tripping over themselves to humiliate RFK Jr. in an honest debate. But they know Joe Rogan is honest, and he won't slant the table, and he will give. And so that's why nobody will go near him. And anyway, so I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but it's great that we have Twitter now. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know with RFK Jr. too, I know his position on Israel and Palestine. I don't agree with him on that position. I've been very vocal about that. But I'm curious to see, is he actually going to take up some of these offers to go onto these shows to have that discussion? Like Max Blumenthal, for example, said on Rising, he invited RFK Jr. to come onto the Gray Zone to have that discussion with him. I think that would be a good person to have that discussion with, right? But I wonder if he's going to be willing to do that, because it seems like he has not done that yet, and so to speak, except for with Glenn Greenwald. And that interview, that discussion was a little bit heated when it got to that conversation. But I'm wondering if he will do that, and I hope that he will, because I really do think someone like Max could really educate him on that issue.
Do you really think it's because he's not educated on? I don't know what it is. It's like you said before, it's confusing. There's a chance that he doesn't understand the Israeli-Palestine argument, I guess. What was also surprising to me was when he admitted that, he didn't get Russiagate right and that he fell for that. Like, how the fuck? And then I don't, that was mind-blowing to me. And he was wrong on the Ukraine war at first, but now I guess he's got his mind right and he got the info. And so that's good to see. He gave a fantastic speech in New Hampshire, was it 2 days ago?
Yep.
About war, about the biggest job of the president is to keep America out of war. Holy cow. Can you imagine that? They're going to kill him. There's no way that they're going to let him be president. And anyway, it's great to have him and Cornell in the race. And thank God that RFK Jr. isn't a Bernie Sanders. He's got balls of steel and he's got a spine. And he's taken all the slings and arrows to tell the truth about vaccines. And so I think that's a guy who will stand up to people.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We see him going places that Bernie Sanders was afraid to go, or Bernie knew that if he did, that his career would be over.
Right.
I think that's really what it's about. Like, Bernie didn't want to lose like his political career. There was also a threat at one point in reference to like his wife. I know that she was threatened
Yes.
at one point when Bernie was running. So he just didn't want, I felt like you can't come out here and call for a political revolution and you're not really willing to take part in the revolution part.
Yeah, remember he would start every speech. Sounds like you're ready for a revolution. Well, guess what? I'm not. And I'm going to just go ahead and suck Joe Biden's cock. And that's what he's been doing.